Hello, everybody. This is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard. Today, we're going to go deeper into the understanding of Odin's sacrifice on the Tree of Life, how he became king of the gods, and what it really means to die to the false self. So, this concept for me has continued to expand. I guess that's a good thing. My understanding of the multiverse continues to expand. And I believe that this story, this myth, if you want to believe it's a historical event, of Odin sacrificing himself on the Tree of Life in order to achieve his godhood, in order to achieve his mastery. You want to use the word enlightenment. We're going to delve into that. We're going to understand on a deeper level what the Tree of Life signifies. There's a very important symbology behind it, which a lot of people don't understand, myself included, until recently. All right, so before we go any further, this is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. The point of this channel is exactly what we're talking about here, which is to give yourself the power to ascend beyond where you are now. That means you have to do the work. You have to do the exercises if you want that. Just listening to me talk is kind of a waste of time. I mean, it's not a complete waste of time, but if you really listen to what I say, then if I'm doing my job, you're going to be stimulated to actually do the work to shift up to the next level. Thunderwizard.com, if you go there, there's the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Subscribe to that. Go there and simply press play on the videos. Do the exercises that I'm showing you. Follow my instructions. I guarantee you, you will experience ascension. You will ascend beyond where you are, at the very least. Courses.thunderwizard.com, all the stuff that I offer. And by the way, I still haven't gotten rid of the solar flash. Oh, where is it? I still haven't gotten rid of the solar flash package. Okay, I've been wrapped up in my own stuff, getting over a cold and other things like that. So you can profit from my laziness. Go to solarflash.thunderwizard.com and take advantage of what I'm offering there. I also want you guys to go on to audiobooks.thunderwizard.com and get my audiobooks. That's the best way to learn from me in terms of books. One of the new ones is Interdimensional Revolution. And again, if you subscribe here to the thunderwizard.com, you'll also have access to the Interdimensional Meditation course. All right. I won't spend time talking about more of that stuff, but not only everything I offer is for your empowerment. I don't offer nonsense. Maybe I should, but I don't offer merch. I don't sell Thunder Wizard t-shirts or Thunder Wizard mugs. You know what I mean? I don't ask for people just to donate money. I don't do any of that. If you're going to give me money, I'm going to give you something of tremendous value. And so, anyway, but it keeps the lights on and it keeps me able to stay alive. So I appreciate it. All right. So getting back to Odin, path of Odin, dying to the false self. First off, let us go back to the world that our ancestors lived in. This is true for everybody, by the way, not just my ancestors, but the modern world is an invention. And if you have, I don't know if it's where is it? You can find it certain places, Amazon video. You can go and find Creating Christ, and I recommend that you do that. And once again, the video is cutting in and out. Anyways, I hope you can still see that. It really annoys the crap out of me that this happens. Anyway, and it keeps telling me how to change the bit stream, and I don't know how to do that. It's just let me try that just for half a second. Let me see if I can pull this off. So now it's saying it's excellent. Just so annoying. it doesn't tell me anything. Stream settings. Anyway, I'll worry about it another time. So the world that our ancestors lived in is different from the one we live in now. And the one we live in now, the mindset that you have, whether you are religious or whether you're not religious, even if you're a complete atheist, your mindset about this universe has been imprinted into you completely and totally. I'm going to give you one example. Now, twice in my life, I've had a thing called frozen shoulder. Now, if you talk to Western doctors, they're going to tell you some ridiculous nonsense that frozen shoulder is something that is a result of where the bones, the capsule of the bone and all that, it's solidified in there. It's pure nonsense. They're making stuff up. They're guessing. They're pulling things out of their ass. And what happens in Western medicine, as you have seen the past couple of years, all it takes is for one person to decide something's a fact and then to say, I'm a doctor, therefore X, Y, and Z is a fact, and then it becomes imprinted that that's what it is. Frozen shoulder is one of those things. I knew that going into it. First time I had it, I was able to cure myself of it without knowing some specific techniques. I just put myself in the right mindset and my body, shifted itself back. It's supposed to take you 3 years before you get over frozen shoulder, and I fixed myself in 3 weeks. Well, this last time, which is now, I got here to Australia, and because of my own personal drama, whatever, I ended up giving myself frozen shoulder again. But I was lucky this time. I was just flipped onto YouTube and I typed it in, and I found somebody who was a masseuse and showed acupressure points. And it turns out that the exact path of the pain, if you've ever had frozen shoulder, there's a specific pain, of nerve pain, goes down a very specific path. And it turns out that that is exactly the path for the large intestine meridian in Chinese medicine. And so all I had to do was just simply put some pressure on some very specific points, and whenever the pain would start to flare up, I would just simply hit those points and the pain would vanish. And of course, it's associated with emotional things, meaning that I would get, I would have to learn how to let go of things. I'm holding on to things. I'm too rigid. All those kinds of stuff about certain concepts. And what would have taken me weeks, I did within a matter of minutes. Completely cured myself of it. And that has to do with mindset. Western medicine can't comprehend that. If you say to Western medicine, this has nothing to do with the physical structure of the arm. This has nothing to do with the muscles. It only has to do with an energy pathway. The energy pathway is blocked, or the energy pathway is overstimulated. And this is causing things to go on an energetic meridian, which is causing pain to the nerve, which is causing the brain to shut down blood flow to these areas, quote, the frozen. It's got nothing to do with this garbage you guys pull out of your rear end. I mean, the things that I see, as I've looked online, they put people in slings, which does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. And you put them on medication, and these people are stuck in this horrific pain for years. And all it would take is if somebody said, listen, you're holding on to things, you got to let go. Here's a very simple technique. Just push these points in your body. Every time you start to feel pain, the pain will disappear. And then breathe into it and meditate on letting go of all the things you're attached to. It's an amazing thing. And but you can't do that if you don't have the proper mindset. If you don't have the proper mindset, it'll never work. I'm getting distracted by watching my feed go into freezing mode, driving me crazy. Anyway, so I'm moving things on my screen so I don't have to see that. All right, so our understanding of the universe is completely based off of a mindset that was programmed into the world. By the way, it started about 2,000 years ago. Actually, it started before then. If you read my book, Odin's Odin says Jesus was a coward. You can go to courses.thunder or audiobooks. I have it in an audiobook. Odin says Jesus was a coward. I explained to you the beginning of the shift. It started with the Hebrews who, when they walked away from their indigenous polytheist religion and adopted a literalist monotheist religion in order to rewrite their history and control their country politically. It started with them. The Romans tried to fight against them, and they had a very difficult time, and they saw how incredibly effective this mindset was in controlling a population. They'd never seen anything like it. So actually what ended up happening is that the Hebrew elite, who did not want to rebel, they wanted to be part of Rome, they wanted to infiltrate the Roman elite culture and, you know, help rule the world. They, with the Romans, created the Christian religion, which turned monotheism into a way not only to control a population, but also to control your mind. So even people who are completely, totally atheistic in our Western culture is a result of that, going back 2,000 years. And, you know, in recent times, in the beginning of the 20th century, China was seeking to become more modernized. And in order to do that, they had to drop their indigenous beliefs in their ancestors. And so what would happen is, from the United States, you'd get these business moguls who would come and meet with the Japanese elite and teach them to completely disregard their indigenous understanding of the ancestors. And that was essential in order to get the understanding of how to believe in, you know, Western ideas of money and commerce and values and all of that. That is why you have people in Japan, why you have so many suicides, is because it's not part of their culture. The Japanese culture is not designed to live in the Western mindset. They take it in the wrong direction. Same thing with the Chinese. That's why we make jokes about, you know, Chinese are better at business and become better doctors, but they kill themselves over careers and money, because their actual historical culture is very different from the Western meaning going all the way back to the Roman mindset. But this mindset believes that it comes from the ancient Christian tradition, which taught people that the physical world was evil, and what was good was the spirit. Those of you who are Gnostics, if you believe that Gnosticism is the original Christianity, it's the same thing. It's a victim mentality that creates a separation between you and the spirit world, and you believe that there's this bad, evil earth and this good, you know, non-physical heaven, and that is designed to control you. It's designed to put you in a state of trauma where you are dissociated from your physical reality. When you are dissociated from your physical reality, people can come in and control you. They can control what you do for a living. And, you know, as the World Economic Forum said, you know, ubiquitously a while ago, which they've since deleted it, but they tweeted, in the next 30 years, you will own nothing and you will enjoy it. You will own nothing and you will be happy. You will rent everything, and everything will be brought to you by drone. In other words, what they're saying is, you're not going to own a house. You're going to live in a cubicle, and you're not going to even leave to go get food. We will send it to you. You will sit in your cubicle. You will do what we tell you. We will have a job for you, and you will never have to ever be responsible for yourself again. And that is the ultimate goal of this mindset. So this understanding of Odin's sacrifice, self-sacrifice to become king of the gods, is incredibly important. And if you read my book, Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward, you get to look at exactly why it is so completely different from what you've been led to believe self-sacrifice is, which is the extremely narcissistic, codependent devaluation that Jesus represented. Jesus represented the absolute in self-destruction, self-hatred. self-devaluation. And that's the ultimate goal. The goal is to get you to devalue yourself. You get devalued enough. You've heard this, I'm sure this is a great story, but you know how they train elephants to, to stay put. When they're babies, they're beaten, for one thing, but they put just a simple rope around their leg, and they tie the rope to a small tree. And so whenever the baby elephant tries to go anywhere, it can't, because it's tied to a tree. It's small enough that it doesn't have enough weight to pull the tree down. So when you continuously beat and they do that, they would spend all night beating the poor elephants. And by the time that they're full grown, huge, massive elephants, all you have to do is just put a tiny little string around their foot and tie it around a stick. Put a stick in the ground and tie a string around them, and they believe they won't be able to move. They've been programmed that way. And this is how you've been programmed. You've been programmed to believe that three-dimensional reality is the only thing that exists. What you can see with your eyes, smell with your nose, touch with your fingers, taste with your tongue, feel with your nerves, that's the only thing that exists. That's why Western medicine, there's a very simple technique for curing frozen shoulder. It's very simple. You just press a few points, spend a few minutes doing that, boom, you're cured. But they won't, if I go to a Western doctor right now, and I say, I have a cure for frozen shoulder, they're going to say, what is it? They're going to think, oh, it's some kind of a chemical, some kind of a drug. And I'll say, no, you just press these points. They're going to go, oh, no, that's great and all that, but no, it has to do with blah, 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 blah. Because they can't comprehend that there's an energetic meridian. Why? They can't record it in any way. They can't detect it with any instruments. This is one of the problems with people who try to prove things like ghosts and things like that, because they're trying to prove it with three-dimensional physical science objects. You'll never be able to do it. It'll never happen. They'll never find the body of a Sasquatch. Because Sasquatches are not three-dimensional beings. You'll never find one. You'll never be able to prove to somebody that ghosts exist or that the soul exists beyond 3D life, because you can't physically measure it in the third dimension. In order to believe that, you have to have a concept that goes beyond that. All right, so enough of that. You've been programmed to be trapped like that elephant in your senses. The elephant senses when somebody puts a string around his foot and ties it to a little stick in the ground. He senses that, and that's enough for him. And you're the same now. You've been taught to believe your senses, and that's enough. That's it. So, Odin decides that he wants to become enlightened. I use that word. I don't like it, but I use it. He wants to become enlightened. And so he sacrifices himself on the tree of life. So what is the tree of life? The tree of life is in Norse mythology, the tree of life is the root from which all of the 9 worlds, we can call them worlds, you can call them dimensions. We have probably live in at least 11 dimension multiverse. I don't know that for a fact, but I do believe, based on my interdimensional meditation experience, that we live in at least a multiverse that goes to 9 dimensions. You have a 9th dimensional self, which is a god. And if you can get to the point where you can merge yourself with that 9th dimensional self, then you won't need to listen to me anymore. So this is what Odin accomplished. For argument's sake, we're just going to go ahead and assume that Odin was a real person. Probably wasn't, but hey, I could be wrong about that. But let's just assume that he is. So Odin is a 3-dimensional human being, for argument's sake. And he sacrifices himself on the tree of life. The tree of life, what is within the human body that connects to all 9 dimensions? It's your nervous system. So we have at least 3 energy powers within our body, spiritual energy powers, which I teach you here in the 90-day challenge. You won't find it anywhere in history or in the world. You will never find anybody teaching you all three of the energies that I teach. It sounds grandiose, but it's the truth. If I wouldn't lie, if there was somebody else teaching it, I would tell you. I've spent my whole adult life researching these energies, and I have created a synthesis, and you can't do that. I mean, I tried doing that early on, and I got myself into some serious trouble. So unless you know what you're doing, you can really damage yourself. I found a way to synthesize these three energy systems in a way where they work together, because normally you have to pick one. If you pick a certain pathway, you got to stick with it, because if you try and merge it, you'll end up causing yourself real serious energy problems. So if you go here, you will be able to have all three of these energies. The first one is chi, prana, orgone, life force energy. It's the energy that surrounds you. It's the energy. I'm here in Australia, and one of the reasons I love it here is that the energy level is so high. Could be where I'm at in Australia, but just the chi energy that just emanates out of the forest and out of the ground is just really powerful. And, I can feel it. I can feel it the moment I step off the plane. I can feel the energy of this place. So it's very powerful chi energy there. And that is what Qigong is. And then there's Kundalini. You've heard of that. Kundalini is not chi. Don't listen to anybody who says Kundalini is the life force energy of the planet. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And some very famous teachers say that. They don't understand what they're talking about. Kundalini is not chi. However, chi can stimulate Kundalini and vice versa. Kundalini can stimulate chi, so they can work together. So you can have a system where both of these energies will work together. But Kundalini is directly associated with the nervous system. It supposedly is curled up at the base of the spine and then releases itself and climbs up the spinal column. And as it climbs up the spinal column, it goes through different energy portals within you. The chakras are energy portals. They are not energy storage places. Those are called dantians, and that's chi. You can store energy in one of the three dantians. You can move energy through the different meridians. It's not the same as Kundalini. Kundalini, you don't store Kundalini. Kundalini is released, and Kundalini is something that only humans have. Dogs don't have it, cats don't have it. I don't know, maybe there's some great apes that have it, I don't know. But human beings are the only beings that have Kundalini, because Kundalini is the energy that allows you to access other dimensions. This is why some people go crazy. There's a thing called Kundalini psychosis. Because sometimes, I know I've experienced it, I've gone into places and I was nuts. And that's part of the process, So Odin dying on the tree of life means that he completely sacrificed himself to his Kundalini. And his Kundalini probably, took him through some pretty crazy nutcase bonkers experiences. We don't know. So Kundalini is, in fact, the energy of the tree of life. So when Odin sacrificed himself on the tree of life, it was the power of Kundalini that was moving through him, moving through his body. And there's no coincidence that he suffered on that tree for 9 days and 9 nights. Why is that? Because of the 9 chakras, because of the 9 worlds. Kundalini was making its way through all of the worlds and all of the chakras. And as a result of that, he sacrificed himself to himself. Odin sacrificed himself to himself, which means that he died to the parameters of his consciousness. So I want you to understand that. People, myself included, over time, as my understanding has shifted and changed, when people talk about death to self, they'll use things like dying to the ego. And the word ego is used in a derogatory sense. There's the ego, which is bad. We say that when we want to attack somebody will say that you're stuck in your ego, man. And so ego just means self. There's no such thing as a bad self. Just depends on how expanded it is. The three-dimensional self, which we call the ego, is the self of the third dimension. The third dimension, in order to really be powerful solely in the third dimension, you must be part of the narcissistic mindset. You have to win over other people. You have to fight other people. You have to conquer others. You're better than others. We compare. We have this ridiculous concept called money, which is a completely made up concept. But if you don't have it, you're a bad person. And if you do have it, you're a good person, even though you don't have any morals. You know, society treats you like a king. As long as you have money, you can do anything. It doesn't have anything to do with your essence. It's a completely made up concept. It doesn't exist. And that has to do with the narcissistic mindset of how we devalue others and we see our worth based on whether or not we can devalue others and rise above them. That is a three-dimensional concept. So when we talk about somebody's ego, we're actually talking about the self that is necessary in order to be successful in 3D. And so we're in this state of cognitive dissonance where on the one hand we know, if I could, sell people mindless widgets for, a million widgets, or if I could sell porn, or if I could sell meth, I'd be a billionaire. But you're harming people, you're doing bad things. But what's more important, having the money or being a good person? You have to balance these out. And so that's a three-dimensional cognitive dissonance that we have to deal with. So Odin was destroying his 3D ego. Now, it goes beyond that. Then we have the archetype of Jesus, which is a completely made-up archetype. But the archetype of Jesus is the non-violent sheep. He even says he's a sheep. I mean, it's right there. He's a shepherd, but he also says he's a sheep, and he's a sheep that's sacrificed. And not in the same way. Odin sacrificed himself to himself. Jesus sacrificed himself to slake the homicidal rage of his, the god of 3D, which is Jehovah. Anyway, I got kind of lost in that. What was I talking about? So Odin died to himself. He died to his 3D ego. Jesus did not die to his 3D ego. He sacrificed his independence. He sacrificed his self-empowerment to the third dimension. He died to his ability to live for himself. You don't believe me? Read the New Testament. Jesus goes into the Garden of Gethsemane and he asks God 3 times, please take this away from me. He says 3 times to his Father, the God of the third dimension. He says, can I please not be killed for other people's sins? And God says no 3 times. And after asking to have self-empowerment, to be able to live his own life and being denied that, not only that, he now has to go devalue himself at the greatest level, and that is what we look to in the third dimension as being spiritual. To this day, I don't care if you're a wannabe Hindu, you're a wannabe Taoist, you're a Christian, you're a spiritual but not religious. Just about everybody thinks that being spiritual is to be this meek victim, doormat that everybody and walks around, and you believe in peace and love, and you don't speak up for yourself, and you don't in any way do or say anything that goes against the grain. And yes, I live this meek life, and like in the Middle Ages, people were proud of the fact that they were just working themselves to death, and they were carrying their cross because this earthly life was evil, and they were waiting to go to heaven. And that is nonsense, because that's the best way to control. If you want to have a bunch of slaves who do nothing but work all day to give you lots of money, you need to have them be these self-deprecating doormats. So that's what dying to the self, according to what you've been taught, means. But according to actual spirituality, if I can use such a phrase, dying to yourself means dying to the third dimensional understanding. Kundalini is, took me years to understand what the point of Kundalini was. But now I understand. Kundalini is about breaking through the third dimensional ego. Now, when you break through the third dimensional ego, you will be rebelling against everything that your physical body says you need to survive. In the third dimension, your physical body, your nervous system is the nervous system of an animal. Animals live in three dimensions. It's kill or be killed, eat or be eaten. And you either are alpha male or you're gonna slowly die. And this is the third dimension, and this is in our bodies. I mean, we got the bodies of monkeys. We are primates. I still have big primate ears. I mean, these ears have nothing to do with being human. This flap does nothing for me. It does not help me hear in any way. It's a holdover from when my ancestors walked on all fours and lived in trees and then needed to be able to hear where the predators were coming from. Your cat does it all the time. Your cat looks at you and the ears go like this. Your dog does it, looks at you and the ears go like this. It's an animal's body that we live in. And this body is designed to live in the 3D, which has to do with ego. And so when Kundalini is fully awakened within the person must rebel against everything that is human. By human, I don't mean humanity. When we use the word humanity, we mean, having empathy for others. Actually, empathy is something that goes beyond the 3D. But when you die to yourself as a result of the release of Kundalini in your system, you will eventually have to go against everything that is in the third dimension, which will put you in a position of feeling as though you are rebelling against and betraying the human race. And we have gotten to the place now where the entire world society is one mindset, and it is the 3D mindset. It is the mindset that was started by those Hebrews, 350 BC, and was taken up 2,000 years ago by the Romans, and it has been perfected and continues to be perfected to this day. And that's why, again, Western medicine is really horrible at everything except for fixing like bones and sewing up cuts and bones and things like that. But it's good at a lot of stuff. But for the most part, it's absolute nonsense. Like there's no Western medicine out there that has the first clue how to deal with frozen shoulder, because frozen shoulder is not a physical problem. It's an energy imbalance. And unless you believe in energy, then you'll never even look for a solution. So to be like Odin means to completely die. Completely die to your understanding of this world. And it is a death. It will be painful. It'll be easier for some than others, but it will be painful. Unless I'm completely different than most people. The death that I continue to go through as I get closer and closer to higher dimensional energies, the death that I go through is quite painful. And the fear and the shame that you feel when you feel like you are rebelling against the human race, that you will feel as though you're murdering the human race. That is the true nature of Kundalini awakening. And that's why so many people, when they have Kundalini awakenings, they go totally nuts. They have Kundalini psychosis. And the Kundalini psychosis is when they can't let go of their 3D attachments. And that's a horrible place to be. And there's people who spend years, trying to fight between those two, and they're nuts. They're bonkers. They're loony. They end up, psychopathic. So that's one of the dangers. But if you understand what you're up against, then you have a much better chance of succeeding. So we have to die to our understanding of 3D, our attachment to 3D, and we have to die to our attachment to what we believe is the human race. And when we do that, then we will have the ability to move up to the next level of awareness. And when that happens, then we'll be in what people are calling 5D. So, of course, I'm repeating myself. I've said this over and over again, but I once again am experiencing that. And, just with this revelation that I just had yesterday of, understanding I can fix frozen shoulder just by pressing certain buttons to release the energy that's locked up in my meridian down here. It's called the large intestine meridian. The energy that's locked up in my large intestine, which has to do with me being inflexible and unwilling to let go of things, and my fear and my worry and trying to control everything. That's what's causing it. And I can fix that by pushing these buttons and then breathing, and then all of a sudden I'll be cured of that. It really dawned on me that we live in an energetic reality, not just a physical reality, but an energetic reality. So think about that. And if you want to have, in my experience, the safest way to achieve Kundalini is if you go to thunderwizard.com and you practice the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. So I didn't talk about the third energy, which is the heart mind, which is the lightning. And I've spent, you can look up the videos that I've talked about that. I won't take up the time explaining that now. That was the energy that was discovered by the Maoshan warriors. By the way, if you go to solarflash.thunderwizard.com, you can have access to, I believe it's solarflash.thunderwizard.com. If you go to solarflash.thunderwizard.com, you can have access to that Maoshan energy. You can also, if you want to study this energy of the lightning center, which destroys negativity. See, here's the thing. We've got these three tools. We've got Qi, which will give you power. The Qi will give you a power where you feel actually surrounded by and protected by the mother energy of Earth, which is life force energy. That is the mother energy. And then you have the Kundalini, which is it's also feminine energy, but it's the energy of release from the third dimension. And then you have the lightning energy of the heart, which will give you the ability to destroy your psychotic attachments to 3D. This is when you put all three of these together, it is an energy package of absolute, complete freedom. This is, you want to talk about enlightenment, talk about ascension. To my knowledge, there's nothing more powerful than this. Go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe, and do that. When you do that, you'll have access to the interdimensional meditation course. In the interdimensional meditation course, I just give you some guided meditations, and I give you my techniques on how to astrally travel and connect to higher dimensions and higher dimensional beings. I'm not the only person that's teaching this. You can just type in CE5 if you want, but I haven't seen anybody who's doing some of the things that I'm doing. And when you do interdimensional meditation, the moment that you make contact with these beings, your Kundalini will be stimulated immediately. And they're aware of this. So they're going to, interact with you with kid gloves to make sure that they don't overstimulate your Kundalini and make you flip out, because you'll flip out. This is what happens when people do shrooms and ayahuasca and, other hallucinogens, is that they are forcing their Kundalini to be released, and you don't have any control over it. It makes you nuts, and it's very damaging to your nervous system. So these guys are the fastest way to Kundalini empowerment, just by being in their presence, just by connecting with them. And so you can learn that yourself by going to the interdimensional meditation course. All right, so I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. I know it's probably not a lot of people. There's only 19 people because I'm on the other side of the world. And so everybody in the United States is fast asleep, probably. But until I figure out how to, until I get settled here and figure out how things work, I'm still pretty much just getting off the plane and It's just it's such a traumatic experience being on a plane and going through multiple time zones and going. It's really traumatic on my body. I don't like it. So it takes me a while to get myself back and then get used to everything. Once I do, then I'll find a way to do live streams where everybody can be part of it. So I'm babbling right now so that you can write questions. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps and then write your question. If you have a feeling, I would love to hear your feelings as well. A feeling is not a statement. A feeling is I feel sad, I feel happy, I'm afraid, I'm confused, I'm elated, I'm enthused. Those are feelings. Feelings and questions are the two things that I like to deal with. So now that I've babbled, let's see. We've got one question here from Agent of the Universe. Question, how would you push through the blocks that prevent me from doing the yin-yang hands for a longer duration of time? Well, there's an assumption there. Your assumption is that you're supposed to do it for a longer duration. I've never said that. That's you. So I know a little bit about you, Agent of the Universe, and you think that if you can force things, that then you'll get what you want. You think you can control things by forcing them, and you can't. There's nothing written that says you have to do the yin-yang hands for 2 hours or 10 minutes. Just do what you can. The only thing that matters is that you do it on a regular basis. You do it consistently. You're better off doing 3 minutes of yin-yang hands every day than doing, an hour one day and never doing it again. So Agent of the Universe, again, I know you've put up some, and again, I want to stress, I came down on you hard. You have to stay positive with me. If you start going in that negative victim mentality, I will block you. You know what you said. You can never talk like that with me. I will never, ever co-sign that. So I know things are difficult for you, and they're difficult for me too. So the point isn't trying to force everything. You have to learn how to be in the moment and learn how to love yourself in your limitation. That's your goal. Loving yourself in your limitation. Not trying to smash everything to bits and control everything and make everything do what you want and change everything. So you try and do that to yourself. I have to force myself to do it more because you think somehow doing it more, you're not doing it to enjoy it. You're doing it because you think that if you do it for 2 hours a day, that then you'll become a superhero and you'll be able to control reality so that you won't be in pain. And that's not how it works. So your assumption that you need to push through to do it longer is your assumption, and I'm not telling you need to do that. So stop trying. So the rest of your question, I'm desperate for solutions and I feel like I'm in circles. So then stop fighting so hard. Stop. Just relax. That's it. Just stop. That's all you have to do. Just stop fighting. Just accept yourself exactly as you are. Love yourself exactly as you are. Because nothing, if you can't accept yourself, nothing's going to fix you. It doesn't matter what mantra, it doesn't matter what you do. If you can't stop and just love yourself where you are, there's nothing that will fix you. Nothing. So stop looking for something. Again, what is codependence? Codependence is the belief that there's something outside of you that will fix you or give you greater value. And there is nothing more valuable than just your awareness. And there's nothing that anybody can ever do or give to you that will make you more lovable than you are at this moment. Give you more value, more worth. The way out is slow. You are in the grip of a boa constrictor. And if you know how boa constrictors work is they don't, once they tighten up, they never let go. In fact, they're continuously squeezing. And so what happens is the prey, in order to breathe, has to make room for more oxygen, so they exhale. Because they're going to go, they're going to inhale. But the boa constrictor is waiting for that. So as soon as they exhale, they squeeze harder. Now you can't inhale. And then you move. So you try and move to get out of it. But when you move, you create more possibilities for them to squeeze harder and harder and harder. And your ribs break and then you die. So that's where you're at, agent of the universe. Your mind is a boa constrictor. It has got you in a grip, and you think that you're going to be able to overcome it, and you won't. And the way to overcome it is to relax. Think of Aikido. If you were to do a martial art, I would say do Aikido, where you let other people's, you move with other people's energy. So you got to stop fighting yourself and fighting everything else. Otherwise, you're going to make yourself crazy. And continue with your therapy and continue with just your daily practice. Just do what you can every day. And that's all. That's all that you need to do. What else? Laura Greenlee says she feels happy for this information. So that's a feeling right there. I don't see any questions, so I guess we're done. Yeah, that's it. Okay, guys. So again, this channel is not about listening to me talk. This channel is about doing the energy work. Go and get my book, Interdimensional Revolution. Also, Aliens Are Coming to Earth. And I recommend doing the interdimensional meditation course if you dare. But at the very least, I recommend that everybody do the Lightning Qigong. Go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. I still don't understand. I mean, I've got how many thousands, 20 plus thousand subscribers, and a tiny percentage of that are subscribed to the 90-day challenge. I don't get it. It's less than what it would cost you to go to Starbucks every day and buy your kidney-destroying drink. And for that, you can have something that is the most powerful, the most advanced energy practice, not only in the world, but in the history of the human race. I don't get it. I recommend that you do that. If you really are that, you're so poor that you're 10 years old and you live with your parents, or you're so cheap that you're not willing to at least, try it for a month, there's plenty of free stuff on the channel. There's the Huul breath, Huul breath. There, you can go onto the playlists and look for the Qigong and do any of the Qigong practices. You can do the summoning the immortals. I recommend everybody do the practices because that's the only way out. You can't think your way out of a crazy brain. You've been told that if you sit around and think about things, you'll be able to fix things. Or if you sit around and feel things, you'll be able to fix things. No. The only way to gain bigger muscles is by going in the gym and lifting weights. The only way to expand yourself energetically is to do the meditations and the practices. So I offer them to you, and I guarantee you success if you follow all of my suggestions to the letter. All right, let's see what else. David Turner, I usually am, it's an honest feeling. Please write honest feeling in all caps so I don't miss it. I scroll past things that don't catch my attention. Honest feeling. I started CE5 in June, which I love doing, but since then my anxiety has gone through the roof. Exactly. I used to be able to distract myself from my feelings, but now I can't. Good for you. So a lot of people have this experience. One of the first experiences I had, and other people have this, is they feel unworthy. So that was one of my first experiences. In fact, if you go on my channel, look for it. There's a video where the title is something where how I became an extraterrestrial. And I show you on there the videos that I took of the first 3 CE5s that I did and how I was completely flipping out and losing my mind. But one of the things that happened is I felt this immense shame, and I didn't feel worthy to be in the presence of these beings. That was my first experience. Second experience was I felt as though I was betraying the human race. And I felt horrible. I felt such shame and guilt over what? Connecting with beings that were higher than myself. And I started getting, paranoid. Like these beings are trying to destroy, they're evil demons trying to destroy the world. And it was just me bumping into my Kundalini, which was breaking through the 3D connection. I felt like I was disconnecting from the human race. And what I was really disconnecting from was three-dimensional reality. The truth is that all humans on a soul level are connected on multiple dimensions, but we don't consciously realize that. We're now in a position where we're going to evolve to the point where we consciously, in our conscious human minds, understand that we are connected on a spiritual level. We will understand that hokey phrase that says, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. We will understand that. And one of the first things that happened to me, in that first month when ETs started coming to me on a daily basis and working with me, is that I started connecting to the souls of my family that had died. And it's undeniable to me now. I mean, nobody has to convince me that there's life after death. I've communicated with them multiple times. And the ETs have this power that they have some ability to be able to, bring souls to, we can call them angels or whatever, but. And then the other one, what's going on now is what I'm sharing with you now is I'm bumping into my own limitations, which is causing me all kinds of physical pain and trauma. But it's just because I'm having to let go of what I understand. So of course, when anybody does CE5 on any real level, you're going to have to go, like people say, you can't unsee it. Once you do it, you can't unsee it. It changes you. It expands your understanding of reality, beyond what you ever thought possible, and you can never go back from that. And it can be traumatic. People get afraid, and that's understandable. And people, go through fear. They go through self-doubt. They have all kinds of other things. But I've never seen anybody do CE5 who didn't have their life completely, even if it's painful and frightening. I've never seen anybody do it whose life hasn't gotten immensely better. The main thing that the extra dimensional beings will give you is psychological healing. You'll be healed on a deeply psychological level in a way that, faster than can ever be experienced just by, trying to achieve enlightenment in 3D. So I think it's excellent understanding. So I understand your fear has gone through the roof, and distracting yourself from your feelings, the way you described it, is actually a self-destructive. It's self-devaluing. It's violence. You're doing violence to yourself. What I'm saying to Agent of the Universe is to be with his feelings and to love himself in his feelings. If a 4-year-old kid comes up to you and he's crying, you don't smack him across the face and tell him to stop feeling that. You don't try and distract him out of his feelings. You pick him up and you hug him and you say, "What's wrong? Tell me what's bothering you. Let me help you." We need to do that to ourselves. When we're having feelings, we don't distract ourselves from our feelings. We accept them. We acknowledge them. And we love ourselves through them. That's the only way out. It's the only way. Let's see, what else? El Shaman Waffle, what is the difficulty you have with writing the word question? You've been on my channel long enough, you know how to do that. It's very hard for me not to take that personally. You're deliberately choosing not to follow my directions. So I don't know how to help you. But your question here, how would you recommend recovering after a hard day's work? I can already tell you're not doing any of the work. I say this all the time. I can tell by your question whether or not you're doing the work. I already know you're not subscribed here. I already know that you're not doing any of the meditations on the channel, because that question, I understand the question, but it is so basic. It tells me that you're not doing the work. If you were doing the Hool breath, for example, of one of the free meditations, you would know that doing the Hool breath for 10 or 20 minutes will knock you out. If you knew the power of the Maoshan 5 elements at maoshan.thunderwizard.com, if you knew the power of those, you'd know that doing those for 10 or 20 minutes would knock you out flat on your ass. So I know you're not doing the work. So if you follow my suggestions, which is do the energy work, you won't have to ask these kinds of simple questions like, how do I fall asleep at night? Because you'll have the tools, you'll have the ability to do so. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, any other questions? I don't see any other questions, so I guess we're done. Thanks, guys, for showing up. I appreciate it. And yeah, go here at courses.thunderwizard.com, astrology.thunderwizard.com, places like that. And again, we still have, because I've been too focused and, no, that's not the one. I've been too focused and too lazy to change this. You can go to solarflash.thunderwizard.com and you can save yourself ultimately, if you want something like $4,500. I'm still in the space where I need to build up some cash because, eventually I'm going to have to, looks like I'm going to have to go back to the States in about 6 months, which means I'm going to have to spend a lot of money to travel again. And so I'm going to have to find ways to come up with making more money. So for the time being, I'm still offering these savings to you. Take advantage of them. Again, don't waste your time on this channel if you're not going to do the work. I mean, I want this channel to get as many views as possible, but I'm doing you a disservice if I don't tell you. The point of this channel is to do the work. Do the energy work. If you don't do the energy work, no amount of talking from me is going to help you. I'm glad it's entertaining, but anyway, that's it. Yep, and El Shaman Waffle, yeah, I have not been doing the work. Of course you haven't. I didn't make that up. I can tell. Not because I'm psychic. I can just tell by your question or your comment whether you're doing the work or not. It's that simple. And it's free. You have no excuse. You don't want to pay for it? The free stuff on this channel is far beyond anything the stuff that you have to go out there and pay for. You want to go and pay for Tai Chi, you want to go pay for a meditation course, you can go and do that and won't be anywhere near as powerful as just the free stuff on this channel. There's no place in the universe, in history, where somebody has given out this kind of powerful energy practice to the world. You won't find it. And to not take advantage of it, you're the only one that is to blame for that. Can't blame me because I'm giving it to you, in every possible way I can, and I strongly recommend you take advantage of it. All right, that's it for me. I wish you guys all the best, and I will see you guys all next time. Let's all see what we can do to become more like Odin and be powerful and free and multidimensional.